So when making a back for a painting that's going to be on wood, whether or it's going to be like a mosaic or something like that, what you're going to want to do is you're going to be coming over on this side of the art room. I have my board right here that this is kind of the size that we're doing with our fluid paintings this year. And I want to be able to put a back on there. The reason why we have a back is kind of two reasons. One, it helps keep it steady so it doesn't fall apart on you or warp as much. And like in the case of the mosaic, kind of the same thing. It's just you want to have that rigidity. And the last thing is that you also put a frame around there, and the only way to put a frame on is you have to be able to nail it into something. So that's why we do it. What you're going to do is you're going to be coming over here. There's a bin down below, right across from over here that has a lot of scrap wood in it. You want to check that out area first because it's just, you want to try to use as much that scrap up as much as possible. Now, here's a piece of wood that is in scrap, as well as here's another piece of wood. And you say, well, why would I use something that looks, this was something that we just used to kind of put stain on when we were staining something. It's like, why would I want to use that and make my project look terrible? You're not going to see this. So it doesn't matter the condition that this board is in. Even if it's cracked a little bit or has a piece that's gouged out of it, I'd prefer you use these because when you actually use, you want to save the good wood, for your frame. Okay, so try to use this up for what you want to, we want to be able to use. Now, along the side of here, I do have a ruler that you can use to kind of help guide you a little bit. If you're the only one in class or there isn't a line or anything like that, you can actually just line this up along here, and right here is 8 inches, and just be able to push this down and be able to cut it. But I need to, but we're gonna go through the measuring process so you know how that actually works. Okay, so I'm gonna grab some wood and then I'm gonna go over to a table. Okay, I have my ruler here. Again, in the classroom, there's a supply cabinet. There's rulers inside there. I do keep rulers, yardsticks, and measuring tapes over by the chop saw where I'm gonna be going next to be able to measure something if you need to measure anything. So right here, this says 11 1/4. So I'm gonna cut 2 pieces that are gonna be 11 1/4. So I'm gonna grab this white one so you can see a little better. This on the side here, measure 11 1/4. And then I'm gonna measure 11 1/4 again. Now you gotta take in consideration the thickness of the blade. So that's why I'm just gonna kind of flip this around. So from here to right here is 11 1/4, and now I'm gonna make a measurement over here. You don't have to do it this way, it was just kind of the way that I do it. And we're good. So I'm gonna get these 2 cut, and I'm gonna go to the next step. Hi, so I'm gonna show you how to cut wood. When you cut wood, you wanna come over to the chop saw. Again, we have all of our stuff over here. I have ear protection if the sound really bothers you, or you do have to have some kind of safety protection for your eyes when you do this, okay? So even if you're wearing glasses like myself, it's a good practice to make sure that you have this on you. If you don't have any glasses, you especially need to do that. So I usually have a full range over here for you to kind of play around with. So I'm gonna stick this on. Now the way the chop saw works is that you have this handle here. On the side of the handle is actually a laser. You probably can't see it, but it does shoot down over top of this so you can see your line a little bit better. But this is almost a little unnecessary because I made this piece of wood that goes across over on top of this because when I cut down on this, the gap that's closest to the 1, that is where it's going to be cutting. Okay, so this is pretty accurate. Now I do have my mark made up. You can kind of see that right there. Now I learned kind of in the past that you have this line that goes off to the side, so you know that this is a side you don't want, which means that when I cut this, I want to make sure that I don't cut along that line, but I cut a little bit, to the left of it. So when I cut it, this will stay true to the measurement that I want. Okay, so I'm going to get this cut. Now, it is called a chop saw, but it doesn't mean that you take this and you just slam it down over top of that. You start it up and then you slowly do your cut. Okay, for example, We start it up. Kind of release it, and then you can bring it back up again. Okay, so I'd rather you take your time on there, because there's been a few times I've seen people, especially if they don't have this tight against this fence right here, hit that and then this jabs against it. It's not going to hurt you, but it just kind of scares crap out of you. So I'm going to line my cut up. I bring my blade down. It looks like it's good. I'm going to start it. Okay, I have my other cut on this side. Bring my blade down. That's good. So I'm a little bit to the left of my line that I want to keep, so that it stays true to the size that I want. So I have my two pieces, and then I have this scrap. The scrap is like pretty long. I want you to put it back under where all the wood is at. I'm gonna kind of slide this over so you can see it if you haven't seen this before. So this is all the wood that's kind of cut up for framing and for your back. Okay, so this is where you'll be grabbing it. And again, the bin is right here. So this is scrap. You throw it right inside here. The only time I don't want to keep scrap, I guess, is like, for example, with our fluid paintings, you know, we use pretty small pieces of wood. This is about 8 inches and 8 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so probably I want to keep everything that's like, I mean, 8.5 is pretty, or 8 inches is pretty on this in the small side, but that's the size I want to keep. Anything less than 8, you don't. I mean, you're still going to throw it in here anyways, because it becomes a burn pile, and I take care of it. Okay, so that's how it works. Other than that, let's kind of go back over and put this on. Thank you. Okay, now that I have those two cut, you can see that they go right across. Right now, this is going to be my front, because you put your backing on the back. And you want to make sure that they don't go beyond the wood along here. So if you can see it, if it's like this, you can talk to me, or you could even kind of do it in your class if you know how to do it, is that we can either use a chop saw. You can just kind of remark this, for example, and just go like that. And you can see that line and get that cut. If it's real small, sometimes you can use a belt sander. If you have a piece, when you're kind of done with it and it looks like this, hopefully you catch this, because this will drive you nuts when you actually go in the framing part. But I can use our bandsaw to kind of cut this off. But like taking photography, it's just better to do it right the first time, so you don't have to go through a bunch of editing and stuff like that. So I'm gonna have this piece here. I'm gonna have this piece here. And the next step is I need to measure on the inside here. So I'm going to take my ruler, and it looks like it is 8 3/8 on this side, and it should be the same thing on that one. So I need to cut a piece of wood that's 8 3/8 and get that done for you. Okay. Okay, as you can see, we have all of our wood. Again, this is going to be for my fluid painting. And again, this demonstration is for painting and mosaics. Now, there is a difference at this next step between the two. Everything has been the same so far. The next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to kind of pretend that this is, well, we're going to pretend that this is a fluid painting right now. Wood glue that we have, and again, this is over there by the sinks, and it's pretty easy to find where all of our drills are at and everything. And you're also going to need binder clips, and these are over there as well. What you need to do for the paintings only, this is just for the paintings, okay? I don't know how, I need to say that over and over and over again, and I'm still going to have somebody that's going to do it the wrong way, is I'm going to take this piece of wood right here, and I'm going to set this down over top of it, flip this around. Doesn't matter if it's real messy. I'm going to take this binder clip, open that binder clip as wide as I possibly can so it holds it in place. So it looks like this. And just so it can fit in your cubby, you can close these down over top of that to be able to do that. I'm gonna go around the whole thing and keep applying that on, because I do want to have 2 per side on here. Now, if this was a mosaic, the difference with the mosaic is you would still wood glue it, like I'll show you here. Still gonna take this wood glue and put it along here. To put it along here doesn't really matter. Gonna have it right there. I'm gonna make sure that I don't see the edges at all. Painting, you do not use these. You wanna keep this as clean as you can. And otherwise, I'm gonna go around, I'm gonna finish getting this whole thing done, and let's put the second clip on. Now I have this on, because this is your backing, it does not matter if you have this gap, because you're not gonna see it, okay? If it's right up against her, that's great. With your frame, it does matter. That's the difference between a couple of points on something. I wouldn't fail you on it. And you still would probably get an A on that if that's the only problem. It just takes away from your design. So just make sure you just try to get it as clean as you can. But again, for the backing, because you're gonna be putting a frame around the whole thing like this, it doesn't matter at all. So I'm gonna put this up. Get some more glue on there. Don't go crazy on the glue, because it'll just go all over the place. Lastly, what you want to do is you want to make sure that people know this is yours. So I'm going to go in with a marker. Because a lot of times I don't think people are being mean if all of a sudden you don't have your painting frame anymore. They just might think it's theirs. Okay, so in order to prevent that mistake, you just want to make sure that your stuff is labeled and you're good to go with it. Let this sit and dry for a day. You can take the clips off, put them away. If it's painting, remember you put your paint on here and then you brush this way with it, and you brush this way with it to make sure you have a nice solid coat of white paint, so your colors turn out a little bit brighter.